Okay, so let's just do maybe an introductory thing on Nitzavim. We don't have so much time. Nitzavim starts off in a way that's actually, maybe we're so used to it that we don't realize how surprising it is, but it's actually quite surprising, at least to a modern ear, it's quite surprising. You're all standing here. You're the heads of your tribes, all Jews. Your children, your women, the Gerim, from the lowest of the low, the lowest workers. To pass you through this covenant. To make you his nation, right? That's the foundation, is the covenant. Now that's not particularly surprising to a modern ear. I mean, maybe it is, right, a chosenness, but okay, fine. You're entering into a covenant. But the key of Nitzavim is really the next two psukim, which is V'lo itchem levadchem anochi karet abrit azot et ala azot. I'm not only making the covenant with you, ki et asher yeshno imanu umed hayom lefnei Adonai Eloheinu ve'et asher nenu po imanu hayom. But I'm not just making the covenant with you, I'm making it with
the future generation.
The future, right? You don't have to be here. Right, and then he talks to the current generation. Right, he says, "Look, you right? You saw Mitzrayim. You saw the disgusting nature of Avodah Zarah." And then he goes on, right? Maybe there's someone among you nowadays who your heart is not fully with God, etc. Now, all of that, right, makes a lot of sense, right? Meaning, if you cut out those two psukim, it would make a lot of sense. I am forging a covenant with you, and you agree to this because you were in Mitzrayim, I took you out, you remember what Mitzrayim was like, you understand the moral religious depravity of Mitzrayim, you understand that the lifestyle that I'm offering you is better and therefore it's worth entering into a covenant, right? And therefore you of your own volition, from your own autonomy, right, you enter into this covenant with all the obligations that come with it. But the thrust of the Torah philosophy, which is something that you just have to come to terms with, because it is basic to Torah philosophy, even though it runs against the grain of maybe modern ethos completely, is that you can be bound to something not of your own volition, right? Because our parents were in this relationship and God took them out of Egypt, their children are now part of a national story, whether they like it or not. And the fact that it made sense to their parents, and our parents, entered into it, means that lo itchem levadechem. Right? It's not just you; it's everybody who will ever come is part of this national story.
Just like those are basically a crucial part. If the more people would actually didn't believe it, we have to get rid of basically all laws and international treaties.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, meaning, again, I think what I'm saying now is not like a chiddush, right? This is not a chiddush. It's just something that I think has to worth being said because as much as maybe look, it is clear that in modern education, right, we all attempt to inspire, right? You're always trying to inspire people so that Judaism will be meaningful to them, so that they'll want to commit to it, because we know that realistically, right, people can just leave Torah, and therefore if they don't feel connected, right? We all know people who have grown up from and left, who didn't grow up from, who do not feel a sense of commitment, right? And we all know people who are from, but when you ask them why they're from, it's not because I'm obligated, it's because it's meaningful, I believe in it, right, etc. But the notion that, no, the Torah is binding at some level, right? Simply because you have to, and your parents entered into a covenant, and there's nothing you can ever do about it, right? That sense is something that practically in education we don't talk about too much, because, I do, but it's not so popular because it doesn't necessarily work for most people because they don't feel that. But I think it needs to be reiterated that, especially for those of us who are committed, right? Even if pragmatically this is not necessarily the best educational model, for those of us who feel committed, right, to remember that part of Torah is not just I want to do this, it's meaningful to me, but actually central to the project of Torah is at some level, right, also the cognizance of obligation, right? That we're in this, we've accepted it, our parents accepted it, and we have to do this, right? And there is that level of humility, and right, that's actually part of the system. That's actually part of the value is the ability to recognize there are things that are beyond us, there are things that we were born into, tradition that bind us whether we like it or not, and which, to be fair, is also meaningful, right? There is a meaningful layer to that. It's just something that Nitzavim brings front and center, even though, like, to a modern sensibility, it's not intuitive. Yeah, David.
So is this the source for not being able to convert out of Judaism? This what you're discussing?
I mean, this is definitely one of the theological sources for it, right? Meaning the halachic sense of whether you can leave it, right? I mean, maybe other ones, but yes, theologically, right? Theologically speaking, this is probably the Torah's clearest programmatic statement of that, right? That you are Jewish whether you like it or not forever, right? That's it, right? But the interesting thing is that, and I hadn't thought about it in this way until now, right? Is that the Torah doesn't frame it as biological, right? I mean, even if the upshot is that Judaism is passed down biologically, even if you can enter, but once you're Jewish, it passes down biologically, right? That's not how the Torah frames it. The Torah frames it as, right, you were entered into a covenant by virtue of the, right, meaning it's sort of biological, you're the children of the people, but it's fundamentally framed not you are Jewish, but that you are covenantally bound by definition, right? And I just think that's something worth thinking about, that when we read Yitzavim, Vayelech, Hazinu, right, we had to get to the Torah, that is, right, central to it, and often, right, the questions we have to ask if we want to talk about the Torah, we have to take it on its own terms, right? If it doesn't sit well with us, right? Again, pragmatically, this isn't always the best message if you want to inspire people who are not yet inspired. But for those of us who feel obligated, who already act obligated to the Torah, to remember that there is always this level of, that the Torah actually thinks it's valuable for you not to view it as, I'm only doing this because I like it and it's meaningful to me, but to relate to it as something I was born into, and there's a level of obligation, and to feel that, because it really does add to the religious experience, right? I'm not saying that things being meaningful to you doesn't, right? But obligation clearly adds to it, to remember that for the Torah that's central, I think is important, especially when reading these parsha, where that is how the Torah surprisingly presents it. Okay.